Hi, welcome to EPG Pathshala Spanish. We are in the paper entitled Advanced Spanish Grammar. I am Gaurav Kumar and I teach Spanish in the Center of Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, and Latin American Studies in Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. We are in the module Imperfect Subjunctive 1. You will now learn how to form and use the past subjunctive in Spanish called as pretérito imperfecto de subjuntivo, also in English called as the imperfect subjunctive. Like the present subjunctive, the past subjunctive is used mainly in multiple clauses, sentences which express states and conditions such as will, influence, emotion, commands, indefiniteness, and non-existence. Before we look into the context or usages of the imperfect subjunctive, we need to know the conjugation pattern followed in all the three verb endings of AR, ER, and IR for all the regular and irregular verbs. The conjugation of the imperfect subjunctive is formed by taking the third person plural conjugation of the preterite of the verb and changing the final ending of on by the following endings: a, as, a, amos, ais, an. For AR when ending verbs, example hablar, the infinitive form is hablar, the preterite form in third person plural is ellos hablaron. So if we remove the on, then the stem remains hablar and we can add the endings of the imperfect subjunctive, and thus the conjugations in the imperfect subjunctive are hablara, hablaras, hablara, hablaramos, hablarais, hablarán. Some verb conjugation examples of AR verbs: estudiar, which means to study. In the singular, it is yo estudiara, tú estudiarás, él, ella, usted estudiara. And the plural forms: nosotros, nosotras estudiáramos, vosotros, vosotras estudiarais, ellos, ellas, ustedes estudiaran. Contestar, to answer, has the preterite form in the third person plural as ellos comieron. So add the endings of imperfect subjunctive and the conjugations will be yo contestara, tú contestarás, él, ella, usted contestará. In the plural, nosotros, nosotras contestáramos, vosotros, vosotras contestarais, ellos, ellas, ustedes contestarán. Lavar is another AR ending verb which means to wash, and the preterite form of ellos is lavaron. So add the endings of imperfect subjunctive and the conjugations will be yo lavará, tú lavarás, él, ella, usted lavará. In the plural, the forms are nosotros, nosotras laváramos, vosotros, vosotras lavaráis, Ellos, ellas, ustedes lavaran. Now let us take up the ER ending verbs. For the ER ending verbs, let's take the example of beber, which means to drink. The infinitive form is beber and the third person form in the preterite is ellos bebieron. So we remove the own part and the stem that remains is bebier. To this we add the endings of the imperfect subjunctive. Thus, the conjugations of the verb beber are as follows: bebiera, bebieras, bebiera, bebiéramos, bebierais, bebieran. Let us see another verb like comer, which means to eat. The infinitive form comer has the preterite third person plural as ellos comieron. The part of the stem which remains after removing on is comier. So we add the endings of the imperfect subjunctive and we are left with comiera, comieras, comiera, comiéramos, comierais, comieran. Let us now check the IR ending verbs. The example that we take here is that of the verb escribir, which means to write. So the infinitive form escribir is conjugated in the preterite third person plural as ellos escribieron, leaving us with the stem escribir. To this you add the endings of the past subjunctive and the conjugations therefore are escribiera, escribieras, escribiera, escribiéramos, escribierais, escribieran. Another example that can be taken is that of the verb vivir, which means to live. The infinitive form is vivir and the third person plural in the preterite is conjugated as ellos vivieron. So remove the on and the stem is vivier. To this we add the endings of the imperfect subjunctive and thus we receive the conjugations as viviera, vivieras, viviera, viviéramos, vivierais, vivieran. As highlighted in the above examples, it is very important to note that the nosotros, nosotras forms of the imperfect subjunctive always have a written accent on the vowel right before the letter R. So, in case of AR ending verbs, the nosotros form, it would be aramos with the written accent on the letter A, and in case of the ER and IR ending verbs, the nosotros form which has the ending of ieramos, there will be a written accent on the letter E. Also, you must have noted that the first person singular conjugation of yo and the third person singular conjugation of él, ella, usted of the verbs in the imperfect subjunctive are the same. So, for example, in the verb hablar, the singular forms are yo hablará, tú hablarás, él, ella, usted hablará. You can see there is repetition of hablara in the first and the third person again as hablara. Same is the case with other endings of er and ir. For example, with beber, The forms in the singular are yo bebiera, tú bebieras, él, ella, usted bebiera. In the case of the IR ending verb, for example, escribir, you can see the repetition of the first and the third again. Like yo escribiera, tú escribieras, él, ella, usted escribiera. So you can see for beber the repetition is bebiera and bebiera. For escribir it is escribiera in the first form, and again for the third is escribiera. The subject pronoun yo, él, ella or usted should be mentioned before the verb conjugation to avoid any confusion. Otherwise, it may be understood directly from the context. Now, let's take up the conjugations for the irregular verbs. Andar, which means to walk, is irregular in the preterite form, and the third person plural form in the preterite is anduvieron. So, conjugation in the preterito imperfecto is yo anduviera, tú anduvieras, él, ella, usted anduviera, nosotros anduviéramos, vosotros anduvierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes anduvieran. I repeat, it is yo anduviera, tú anduvieras, él, ella, usted anduviera, nosotros anduviéramos, vosotros anduvierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes anduvieran. Next verb is estar, which is irregular in the preterite and third person plural form is estuvieron. From there, the conjugation in the the next verb is estar, which means to be, and it is irregular in the preterite, and the third person plural form is estuvieron. From there, the conjugation in the imperfect subjunctive is as follows: yo estuviera, tú estuvieras, él, ella, usted estuviera, nosotros estuviéramos, vosotros estuvierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes estuvieran. I repeat, yo estuviera, tú estuvieras, él, ella, usted estuviera, nosotros estuviéramos, vosotros estuvierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes estuvieran. The next verb is dar, which means to give, and in the preterite third person plural form is dieron. So, the conjugation is as follows in the imperfect subjunctive: yo diera, tú dieras, él, ella, usted diera, nosotros diéramos, vosotros dierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes dieran. I repeat, yo diera, tú dieras, él, ella, usted diera, nosotros diéramos, vosotros dierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes dieran. Next verb is decir, which means to say or tell. The preterite conjugation for decir is dijeron in the third person plural. From there, the conjugations in the imperfect subjunctive are yo dijera, tú dijeras, él dijera, nosotros dijéramos, vosotros dijerais, ellos, ellas, ustedes dijeran. I repeat, it is yo dijera, tú dijeras, él, ella, usted dijera, nosotros dijéramos, vosotros dijerais, ellos, ellas, ustedes dijeran. Next verb is oír, which means to hear. The conjugation in the preterite third person plural is oyeron, and in the imperfect subjunctive it is yo oyera, tú oyeras, él, ella, usted oyera, nosotros oyéramos, vosotros oyerais, ellos, ellas, ustedes oyeran. I repeat, yo oyera, tú oyeras, él, ella, usted oyera, nosotros oyéramos, vosotros oyerais, ellos, ellas, ustedes oyeran. Hacer means to do or to make and is irregular in the preterite, and the corresponding third person plural conjugation is hicieron. So, in the imperfect subjunctive, the conjugations are yo hiciera, tú hicieras, él, ella, usted hiciera, nosotros hiciéramos, vosotros hicierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes hicieran. I repeat, yo hiciera, tú hicieras, él, ella, usted hiciera, nosotros hiciéramos, vosotros hicierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes hicieran. The next verb is querer, which means to want. It is irregular in the preterite and third person plural form is quisieron. So, the imperfect subjunctive forms are as follows. Yo quisiera, tú quisieras, él, ella, usted quisiera, nosotros quisiéramos, vosotros quisierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes quisieran. I repeat, it is yo quisiera, tú quisieras, él, ella, usted quisiera, nosotros quisiéramos, vosotros quisierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes quisieran. The next verb is saber, which means to know. It is irregular in preterite and third person plural form is supieron. So the conjugations in the imperfect subjunctive are as follows. Yo supiera, tú supieras, él, ella, usted supiera, nosotros supiéramos, vosotros supierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes supieran. Tener means to have, and in preterite third person, the conjugation is tuvieron. From there, the imperfect subjunctive forms are yo tuviera, tú tuvieras, él, ella, usted tuviera, nosotros tuviéramos, vosotros tuvierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes tuvieran. I repeat, yo tuviera, tú tuvieras, él, ella, usted tuviera, nosotros tuviéramos, vosotros tuvierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes tuvieran. The next verb is poder, which means to be able to. In the third person plural of the preterite, it is conjugated as pudieron. So, the imperfect subjunctive conjugations are yo pudiera, tú pudieras, él, ella, usted pudiera, nosotros pudiéramos, vosotros pudierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes pudieran. I repeat, yo pudiera, tú pudieras, él, ella, usted pudiera, nosotros pudiéramos, vosotros pudierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes pudieran. Coming on to the next verb, poner, which means to put, and the third person prathrik conjugation in the plural is pusieron. So the imperfect subjunctive conjugations are yo pusiera, tú pusieras, él, ella, usted pusiera, nosotros pusiéramos, vosotros pusierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes pusieran. I repeat, yo pusiera, tú pusieras, él, ella, usted pusiera, nosotros pusiéramos, vosotros pusierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes pusieran. Volver means to return, and the conjugations in the third person plural prathrik is volvieron. So the imperfect subjunctive is as follows: yo volviera, tú volvieras, él, ella, usted volviera, nosotros volviéramos, vosotros volvierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes volvieran. I repeat, yo volviera, tú volvieras, él, ella, usted volviera, nosotros volviéramos, vosotros volvierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes volvieran. The next verb is venir, which means to come, and in the prathrik third person plural is vinieron. So the imperfect subjunctive forms are yo viniera, tú vinieras, él, ella, usted viniera, nosotros viniéramos, vosotros vinierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes vinieran. I repeat, yo viniera, tú vinieras, él, ella, usted viniera, nosotros viniéramos, vosotros vinierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes vinieran. Caber means to fit, and in the prathrik third person plural it is cupieron. So in the imperfect subjunctive the forms are yo cupiera, tú cupieras, él, ella, usted cupiera, nosotros cupiéramos, vosotros cupierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes cupieran. The verbs ir and ser are interesting, as in past prathrik. Here also they have same conjugation. It may be confusing at some time to decide from the conjugation only whether it is ser or ir, but depending on the context, the speaker shall understand to differentiate between the two. Ir and ser, both in the third person plural of the prathrik, are conjugated as fueron. So, in the imperfect subjunctive, the conjugations are yo fuera, tú fueras, él, ella, usted fuera, nosotros fuéramos, vosotros fuerais, ellos, ellas, ustedes fueran. The next verb, conducir, means to drive. The CR endings change into the ZCO in present, ZCA in subjunctive, and JE in the prathrik form. So, the third person plural of conducir in the prathrik is condujeron, and from there, the imperfect subjunctive forms are yo condujera, tú condujeras, él, ella, usted condujeran, nosotros condujéramos, vosotros condujerais, ellos, ellas, ustedes condujeran. I repeat, yo condujera, tú condujeras, él, ella, usted condujera, nosotros condujéramos, vosotros condujerais, ellos, ellas, ustedes condujeran. The verb conseguir, which means to achieve, has the ending vir which changes into ga in subjunctive like consiga, and in the present it was changing in the third person singular and plural as consiguió and consiguieron. So from there, the conjugations in the imperfect subjunctive are yo consiguiera, tú consiguieras, él, ella, usted consiguiera, nosotros consiguiéramos, vosotros consiguierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes consiguieran. I repeat, yo consiguiera, tú consiguieras, él, ella, usted consiguiera, nosotros consiguiéramos, vosotros consiguierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes consiguieran. Conocer, which means to know, has the CER ending, which changes into ZCO in present and ZCA in subjunctive. In the preterite, it changes to JE. So, the third person plural form in the preterite is conocieron. From there, conocer, which means to know, in the preterite third person plural is conjugated as conocieron. And from there, the imperfect subjunctive forms are yo conociera, tú conocieras, él, ella, usted conociera, nosotros conociéramos, vosotros conocierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes conocieran. Haber, which is the auxiliary verb meaning to have, is conjugated in the preterite third person plural as hubieron. So, the imperfect subjunctive forms are yo hubiera, tú hubieras, él, ella, usted hubiera, nosotros hubiéramos, vosotros hubierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes hubieran. I repeat, yo hubiera, tú hubieras, él, ella, usted hubiera, nosotros hubiéramos, vosotros hubierais, ellos, ellas, ustedes hubieran. Let us now take up some reflexive verbs and see their conjugation pattern in the imperfect subjunctive. As in any other conjugation of reflexive verbs, in the imperfect subjunctive also, the most important part is to remember placing properly the pronouns made, they, say, nos, os, and se. Many a times, students tend to forget them quite easily. Let us take the example of the verb levantarse, which means to get up, and conjugations in the imperfect subjunctive are me levantara, te levantarás, se levantara, nos levantáramos, os levantarais, se levantara. I repeat, me levantara, te levantarás, se levantara, nos levantáramos, os levantarais, se levantara. Next verb is despertarse, to wake up, and conjugations are me despertara, te despertarás, se despertara, nos despertáramos, os despertarais, se despertara. I repeat, me despertara, te despertarás, se despertara, nos despertáramos, os despertarais, and se despertara. Divertirse, which means to enjoy, is conjugated in the imperfect subjunctive in the following manner. Me divirtiera, te divertirás, se divirtiera, nos divirtiéramos, os divirtierais, se divirtiera. I repeat, me divirtiera, te divertirás, se divirtiera, nos divirtiéramos, os divirtierais, se divirtieran. The verb sentirse means to feel and is conjugated in the imperfect subjunctive as the following. Me sintiera, te sintieras, se sintiera, nos sintiéramos, os sintierais, se sintiera. I repeat, me sintiera, te sintieras, se sintiera, nos sintiéramos, os sintierais, se sintiera. It is important to note that the imperfect subjunctive has another possible conjugation pattern as well. These alternate imperfect subjunctive endings are for first person yo, se. For tú, it is ses. For él, ella, usted, it is again se. For nosotros, it is semos. Vosotros, it is seis. Ellos, ellas, ustedes, it is se. It should be noted that both the ra forms and the se forms are interchangeable without any change in meaning. So, for example, in the case of the verb hablar, the forms in the imperfect subjunctive with se endings would be yo hablase, tú hablases, él hablase, nosotros hablásemos, vosotros hablaseis, ellos, ellas, ustedes hablasen. I repeat, yo hablase, tú hablases, él, ella, usted hablase, nosotros hablásemos, vosotros hablaseis, ellos, ellas, ustedes hablasen. For the verb comer, er ending, which means to eat, the same form endings in the imperfect subjunctive are yo comiese, tú comieses, él, ella, usted comiese, nosotros comiésemos, vosotros comieseis, ellos, ellas, ustedes comiesen. I repeat, yo comiese, tú comieses, él, ella, usted comiese, nosotros comiésemos, vosotros comieseis, ellos, ellas, ustedes comiesen. The ir ending verb venir has the following imperfect subjunctive forms in the se form. Yo viniese, tú vinieses, él, ella, usted viniese, nosotros viniésemos, vosotros vinieseis, ellos, ellas, ustedes viniesen. I repeat, yo viniese, tú vinieses, él, ella, usted viniese, nosotros viniésemos, vosotros vinieseis, ellos, ellas, ustedes viniesen. The reflexive verb sentirse, which means to feel, in the imperfect subjunctive for the se endings is as follows. Me sintiese, te sintieses, se sintiese, nos sintiésemos, os sintieseis, se sintiesen. As highlighted in the above examples, it is very important to note that the nosotros, nosotras forms of the alternate imperfect subjunctive conjugations also always have a written accent on the vowel right before the letter S. So, for AR ending verbs, it is in the nosotros form, hacemos, where written accent is on the letter A. In the case of ER and IR ending verbs, there is a written accent on the letter E. So it becomes iésemos. The most common form used is that of the ra form. The se form is more traditional and can be found used in old literary texts. The imperfect subjunctive conjugations are important, and we have seen in great detail all possible formations. Now, we can easily go ahead and start learning the context in which we can use them. Thank you. Gracias.